Lieutenant Colonel Tino Perez here. Welcome to episode 14 of Arguing the OE, and today we have our first guest on the video YouTube channel. Dale Eikmeier here is a professor at the Lewis and Clark here at the Commanding General Staff Officers course, and we're going to go over his take on the center of gravity, which has a lot of power because students readily take to it, and it allows them to quickly start thinking about the center of gravity as a planning construct. Dale, take it away.
All right, thank you, Tino. Hello, in this lecture, I'm going to provide a short discussion on a simple but effective method to identify a center of gravity, or COG, that is fully compatible with both the U.S. Army and Joint Doctrine. When and why and how you use centers of gravity will be a subject of future lectures. Now, doctrine is very specific on how to identify a center of gravity. Joint Doctrine's method, as explained in JP 2-03.1, which is the Joint Intelligence Preparation of the Operational Environment, says to study a system holistically, and then use a micro-analytical approach, and then to visualize and discern where strength comes from. Now, that is actually the doctrinally correct way to identify a center of gravity. Now, I'm not sure about you, but microanalytical understanding and visualization and other critical analysis processes left me scratching my head trying to figure out how do I actually apply them. Well, after a little bit of thought, I developed what I hopefully believe is a fairly clear, simple, easy use step-by-step to actually apply those processes. Now, before I go into the steps of this process, there is one prerequisite that you need: a basic understanding of systems and systems theory. Now, a system is actually a group of interrelated parts that form a unified whole. And understanding the interactions of these parts is essentially to understanding how a system works. The human body, for example, or an automobile, or even the company you work for are examples of unified wholes or entities that are systems and contain subsystems. Now, the center of gravity is simply the most critical part of that entity or system that the system needs in order to achieve its goal or objective. So the first step is to have a detailed understanding and description of the subject entity or system, which could be anything, including yourself or even a potential adversary. Now, a fairly simple technique for understanding the system and to visualize it is the RAFT method. It stands for relationships, actors, functions, and tensions. Now, we actually use it slightly out of order, and we start with actors, which is also known as nodes. Then we have the relationships, which are also known as links. And these are the connections between the various actors. Functions are a description of the relationship, usually described using a verb or a verb phrase, such as actor A provides something to some other actor. And then tensions are actually a characterization, think adjectives, of that relationship and function. For example, positive, negative, strong, weak, supporting, etc. Once you understand that, then you can map out the system. And then you have your prerequisite for the first step in understanding the center of gravity process. Now, what we then do is try to answer three basic questions. The first question is the ends question. What is the entity or system's goal, its objective? What does it want to accomplish? Once you figure that out, write that down, because the center of gravity is always logically connected to this objective. The second question is the ways question, or how the entity or system wants to achieve its goal. Ask what actions must be taken, what must it do. Now, there may be multiple actions or options. Your best option is then to study the evidence at hand from your raft and figure out what is the most likely or most probable action it's going to take. Now, it's recommended that you express these as verbs. Again, these are capabilities, and we will call them critical capabilities in shorthand CC. Notice this is plural. The capabilities can, in fact, be plural. Keep that in mind. The next question is, then we link these capabilities to the means. The means question basically asks who or what possesses this critical capability that will achieve this goal or objective. The actor from the system that possesses or is the primary possessor or executor of this capability is then the center of gravity. It is best to express this as nouns. These are things or objects that actually possess this capability. So again, you have verbs in the critical capabilities and nouns and objects that actually can perform that. Now, to figure out of all your means or all the parts of your system, which is the actual possessor or the cog, you need to study, go back to your RAF data, then ask several questions. Who is the primary possessor of this capability? The doer. Who are supporting or supported elements or actors? Now, one way to help discern this is by asking a series of questions. Because keep in mind, the center of gravity does not act alone. In fact, think of it as a team effort of all of the parts or actors in the system. You can ask if something is consumed or used by another actor, then that the user, the doer, is the center of gravity. The others might be requirements if they are used or consumed. Another TTP to look at that, to validate your cog selection, is to ask the to whom or to what question. For example, if actor X provides fuel, just ask fuel to whom or fuel to what. That to whom or what is probably your center of gravity candidate. Or if actor Y provides command and control, you can say command and control to whom or to what. And that would suggest Y is what we would call a requirement, perhaps a critical requirement, but it's not the primary doer. So once you sort out this hierarchical relationship within the system, you have an understanding of who the primary doer is, the center of gravity, that actually the center of gravity, you can perform this way to achieve this objective, and the relationships with the other actors in the system, and you can categorize them or hierarchical rate them as the center of gravity requirements, some of which may be critical requirements. Then what you want to do is look at those critical requirements and try to determine if any of them are vulnerabilities. A vulnerability that you perhaps can exploit if it's looking at an adversary, or a vulnerability if you're looking at yourself that you may need, in fact, to protect. So in conclusion, to understand the center of gravity identification, start off by understanding the system. You can use the raft method and then apply the analysis of the raft by asking these three questions. The ends question, what is the goal? The ways question, or how can that goal be achieved? And then the means, who actually is the primary executor of this critical capability. Using that method, you should be able to logically identify the center of gravity and clearly differentiate it from the other actors in the system that are probably requirements, some of which are critical requirements, and of those, some of them may be critical vulnerabilities. And that concludes this lecture. Thank you very much.